comes to putting plants into our landscape, we need to consider the site. We want to make sure we don't have a plant that's too big and too small of a location. Trees are particularly interesting when it comes to placing in the landscape. We don't want to put them too close to the home where they can do damage to the roof. And there are a lot of things to think about whenever we're planting trees near power lines. Well, to give us some information on planting trees around power lines, we've come over to Tulsa to talk to Richard Bewley, the forester for Public Service Company of Oklahoma. Hey Richard, welcome to the program.
Good to see you, Steve. Welcome to our urban forest.
Oh, it's beautiful over here. Well, Richard, what are some of the problems with trees and power lines?
Well, trees are a beautiful part of our landscape, and it's part of why Oklahoma is such a beautiful place to live. But trees, in essence, are millions of paper tubes filled with mineral water, and they can conduct electricity when they come in contact with our overhead power lines. Okay. People don't often appreciate that fact.
Okay, so there's a big danger there.
There is some safety issues, both for the public and for our workers who have to maintain and keep people's lights on.
Okay, so I think a lot of people don't realize that trees can be conductors of electricity, and whenever they come in contact with the wires, we have a lot of problems there. And what are some of the things that happen with the limbs touching the wires and that kind of thing?
Well, whenever the wind blows in Oklahoma, which it does with great speed and with great frequency, limbs can blow into these overhead power lines, and each time they touch it, they will pull some of that voltage down and ground it through the tree itself. And for many decades, that was an acceptable level of service. But with the advent of home computers, people running business out of their homes, people need electricity 100% of the time. Okay. And they want their cost to stay the same or even go down if possible. And trees growing into overhead power lines are in conflict with both of those objectives.
Okay. Well, Richard, we were looking earlier right back here, and there's a pine that is up into the wires, and it's starting to turn brown. Is that due to the wire? Exactly,
Steve. You can see right now it's very quiet, and nothing is going on. But each time the wind blows, the tips of those pine branches will touch that conductor, and that is 7,000 volts of electricity that is ultimately being grounded through that tree, and so it will kill back that portion of the tree that's touching that power line.
Okay, and it is possible for a person to touch a tree that's touching wires, and if the conditions are right, they could feel a charge.
Yeah, in the right conditions, moisture, a wet bark, they could feel the electricity coming through. Our line clearance workers use long wooden or fiberglass poles to carefully prune those parts of the trees away from the conductor so that it's safe for them to work in the tree.
Okay. Sometimes people make those problems worse if there are swings and things like that in the trees.
Yes, we don't want anyone to be hurt by the power lines, and that's my worst nightmare, is to have a child climb a tree, which every child will do, and yard swings. All of these things can bring people into proximity to power lines, and it's what we work to prevent.
Okay, so the public and your workers as well don't want those situations going on. Well, whenever you guys prune on the trees, there are cuts that you make, and you keep the tree, the branches away from the wires, but it's kind of an ongoing process. Is that right? Keeping those clear?
Yes, trees are tough, Steve. They are survivors, and they spend decades here just incrementally growing 6 or 8 or 10 inches every year of the crown, and they're also building their root systems a little bit every year.
That's what they're supposed to do.
I know, and they do a great job at it. Well, when we come and prune the parts of the tree out of the power line, nature is not going to waste all of that sky and sunlight, and the root system is still there to support that, and the tree reacts to that pruning by sprouting out. Dormant buds wake up all along the main stem and just beneath the bark, and those sprouts grow not 6 or 8 or 10 inches a year. They grow 3 or 4 or 6 feet the first year after we prune some of these trees. Fast-growing trees such as silver maples and willows will sprout 6 feet in the first year.
Okay.
So we have to prune trees to get about 4 years of clearance between the tree and the overhead power line.
Okay.
All Oklahoma utilities now have to operate under the new 4-year cycle rule.
Okay, try to come by every 4 years and clean up the trees. Well, I can see right here in this neighborhood, I can see this pecan where the sides, the branches have been pruned away, but you can see all of those younger branches, again, coming toward that light, that open space that you created, filling up that area. And then right down here, we've got an elm where you were telling me has been sort of V'd to make those larger branches grow around the wires, but again, that open spot in the V has been totally filled up with branches. And up at the top, you were talking about some of the burning back of the branches. We got some of that going on in this tree as well.
Exactly. Yeah. In years past, we have simply, pruned out the center of that elm tree in an effort to maintain customer relations and
Sure.
keep them satisfied. But in the long run, we've done a disservice to our customers. We cannot prevent an elm tree from being 60 foot tall. And if it's underneath a power line, there's not an arborist on the planet that can stop that from happening. The tree will grow to its mature height. Continually pruning the hearts of these trees out does not stop it from growing into the power line. And we will just continually be pruning this tree. This elm in front of us here has sprouted back into the lines, and you can see that the parts of the tree that are near the high voltage lines have been
Burned back?
Actually burned back. It's in layman's terms exactly. It's been electrocuted, and it's killed that part of the tree back. And the layman can't see this, or they think that is maybe visually appealing, but that is what makes your voltage dim, and have to reset your clocks when you come home from work, and make you redo all the work on your computer when it blinks. So it's a disservice to the customers, and tall growing trees are incompatible with overhead power lines.
Okay, so creates a problem for the tree because those suckering branches that come off aren't as strong as other branches, and just the cost. Just going to keep increasing the cost to the customers because of all the work that you have to come back and do. So that tree should probably be removed. Is that correct?
It would have been a better way to manage that landscape if that tree had been removed many years ago. Now we will have to remove this large tree, but it creates an opportunity there, Steve. You can have a beautiful landscape that's compatible with overhead power lines. There are tree species that we can live with. Amur maple, Yopon holly are a couple of good choices for Oklahoma. Crepe myrtle is my personal favorite. A standard crepe myrtle will get 10 to 15 foot tall in Oklahoma climate. Excellent addition to your landscape. Nobody wants to live in a city full of one-sided trees or V-shaped trees. It's not an asset to the property owners, and it's not an asset to the community either.
Okay, so we need to look at planting smaller trees under the lines, and also we were talking about the large trees. They need to be even quite a ways back from the lines, so just so they don't grow into those lines. So.
Trees in the forest will grow with really tight crowns, but trees in an urban forest tend to grow with a very full crown. And my rule of thumb, Steve, is however tall the tree will be at maturity is how far away you should plant it from the nearest line.
Okay.
A 50-foot oak should be planted 50 feet away if you don't want the utility to come and take one side of it off, and nobody wants that.
Okay.
Not even me.
Yeah, I like seeing trees develop their own natural shape. Well, Richard, where can folks go and find out information about which trees to plant under the lines and what to do if you have a problem tree in your lines? What resources are available?
Well, the OSU Extension folks are doing a great job. We've also published the PSO's book called Tree Tips. Our foresters have worked at writing the text here, and we have a chart in the center which will help people select the right kind of trees for their landscapes, broken down into small, medium, and large maturing trees that we recommend for the state of Oklahoma. And also has tips in here on planting, irrigating, fertilizing, and pruning your trees. I mean, and saving energy with trees. Shows you where to plant trees to shade your home and even break the north wind.
Okay. Well, at PSO, you guys even will help folks remove trees if certain criteria are met.
We don't want anyone getting hurt working around power lines. Safety is our number one concern, and every utility in Oklahoma, I'm sure, shares that concern. The number one cause of death among professional arborists is electrocution. So contact your local utility to get those parts of the tree that are near those power lines back safely with their trained workers and the tools that they use. Then it's safe for a private arborist or even the homeowner to continue to work the tree.
Okay, and you guys have a website as well, PS Oklahoma?
Yes, PS Oklahoma. We have a lot of information in there about reliability. You can get the Tree Tips book. There's even an 800 number that you can dial. We'll mail this to you whether we send you a bill every month or not. We'll be happy to send this to anyone.
Okay, even if they're not a PSO customer.
That's right.
Okay, what a deal.
We want the utilities in Oklahoma to work well, and we want to keep the prices low and everyone to be safe.
Okay, so psoklahoma.com. Anything else you'd like to share with us, Richard?
Safety is our number one concern, and if I can give people the vision of to look into the future, when you plant a tree, consider the part of the sky that it is going to fill. We love oak trees, pecans, and maples here, but keep them away from the overhead power lines, and your community will be better served, and you will live a safer life that way.
Okay, thanks a lot, Richard. I appreciate this information.
Appreciate you, Steve.